Now, you probably read this title and thought to yourself, what is this woman talking about? Cersei got her butt whipped, especially in the final episodes where Daenerys dragons burned down almost all of Westeros, not including King's Landing. After all, Dany was still standing tall while Cersei was being buried alive under a ton of bricks. Yes, I know. And trust me, I have debated making videos like this. And I have purposely stayed away from Game of Thrones and Marvel because I knew that all the stands were going to come for me in the comments. They were going to curse me out and tell me I don't know what I'm talking about and even try and cancel me before I even get started. However, I truly believe that Cersei wasn't really trying to win the battle of the two queens. She knew that she couldn't take Dany down. Instead, she was setting Dany up to be destroyed from within. Let me explain. Now, it's no secret that men fight differently than women. Yes, we've all seen those awful movies where there's a 95-pound woman beating up a 300-pound man. But movies like this don't seem to fare well because women tend to not throw punches. Let's face it, women aren't really groomed to be physically violent. Men, on the other hand, have to prove their manlyhood. They not only have to learn how to throw a punch, but also know how to take one too. This is perhaps why the Battle of the Bastards was one of the most successful episodes of Game of Thrones. It was equipped with the Free People, which are also known as the Wildlings, Giants, Bastards, Boltons, and Starks, all fighting to win back Winterfell. In other movies like Rocky, which features a man rising from the pits of poverty and despair, gets his big shot by fighting the heavyweight champion of the world. And this movie echoes this sentiment. Men prove their manliness through physical violence. In Rocky, everyone in the crowd was cheering as Rocky slurs through his victory speech. His eyes swollen shut, his lips busted, his ego bigger than the stadium he was actually fighting in. From watching these movies, we inherently understand that it's not just about how many punches you can throw. It's also about how much pain you can endure. Now, it's no secret that men can endure a great deal more of physical pain than women, arguably, while women can endure a great deal more of emotional pain than men. And that's why the Battle of the Two Queens is all about the emotional infliction of pain and not physical pain. Let me explain. Now, Cersei could arguably be one of the most dislikable characters on Game of Thrones. However, her bitterness and bitchiness were brewed over years of being married to a man who didn't like her, much less love her. Still, it's hard to feel any type of sympathy for Cersei, especially seeing how she treats her younger brother Tyrion throughout all 8 seasons of Game of Thrones. Yet Cersei had a special place in her heart for her children. In fact, it was a love for her children that kept her grounded, and thus keeping her from teetering over to the dark side much sooner in the series. Cersei was protected by her father and loved and doted upon by her twin brother. His love was unconditional. Hers, Anyway, I'm telling you all this to say that Cersei was loved by her brother and even by her children. With that said, she had a strong foundation from which to work from. Dany, on the other hand, didn't. She was born beautiful, yes, but that's really about it. She was robbed from her homeland, having to flee Westeros when she was just a baby. All her family members were either exiled or slaughtered, and the Targaryen dragons, all gone. And worse, she had to live out her life with her brother, who was an egomaniac psychopath. She barely hit puberty before he sold her off to Khal Drogo, and he did this in exchange for an army that he knew he could never command. Throughout the series, Dany was able to find her wings, no pun intended. She does this when she's able to hatch up a litter of deadly, fire-breathing dragons. Things change for Dany. With dragons, she's able to not only climb the social ladder, but destroy entire towns and villages in the process. However, Dany never finds love. Not really. The people who love her are not her equals, but were put in her path to serve her. Her subjects were even self-serving and self-righteous, portraying her at the drop of a hat. Even worse, she was deemed barren after being cursed by a blood magic witch. Dany, unlike Cersei, could never bear children to love her, or children that she could love. Now, you could argue that Dany loved Khal Drogo and that he loved her too. After he died, her love for him was bestowed on her precious dragons. Truth be told, Dany never had the unfaltering love and loyalty from a Jaime Lannister. We all believed that just maybe she might find some companionship with Jon Snow, only for the relationship to be ruined once we learned that they are both related. Dany is still respected and a beloved queen in the Free Cities, but when she comes to Westeros to help Jon Snow fight against the White Walkers, she is greeted with indifference and even disdain. Dany is a stranger in her own hometown and pushed beyond her limits when her best friend is murdered by Cersei. Cersei, understanding the pain of loss after losing her children, took her first punch. And guess what, guys? It was a TKO knockout. You see, women fight by inflicting severe emotional pain onto others. In most cases, it is a pain that they have felt or are feeling themselves. Much like a man throwing a punch, their intentions are not just to wound, but to completely destroy their opponents. Cersei understood the power of losing a loved one when she murdered Melisande. She also understood how it felt to be shamed and hated by the townspeople. Townspeople who were supposed to love and respect her, of course. And she wanted Dany to feel that pain. She wanted the townspeople to lose respect for her. That's one of the reasons why she led them through the gates of hell when she opened up the gates to King's Landing. She wanted them to be slaughtered like sheep. She wanted Dany to feel alone and rejected. Cersei wanted her to become unhinged and weak and wreak havoc on all the people she was supposed to save and protect. She wanted Dany to destroy herself. And in the end, she did. Now, Cersei died very much the same way that she was born, in the arms of her lover and twin brother, while Dany was killed by the only man she could ever really truly love. Now, a quote from The Art of War states that the ultimate excellence lies not in winning every battle, but in defeating the enemy without ever fighting them. And with that, I'm sounding off. My name is Jessie Blue, your creative mystic.